Get out of here, old man.
Your kind don't belong in a place like this. The recruiter's voice sliced through the polished air of the corporate lobby, sharp and dripping with disdain. The young man, barely 30, leaned back in his ergonomic chair, his tailored suit creasing as he smirked. His name tag gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Tyler, senior recruiter. The words landed like a slap on 68-year-old veteran Samuel Sam Carver, who stood clutching a worn leather folder, his knuckles whitening. The lobby of Apex Solutions buzzed with the hum of ambition. Glass walls reflecting the sleek modernity of downtown Chicago, the faint scent of overpriced coffee lingering from a nearby cafe. Young professionals in crisp blazers darted past, their eyes glued to smartphones, oblivious to the scene unfolding at the reception desk. Sam, dressed in a pressed but slightly faded blazer, his silver star pin glinting faintly on his lapel, felt the weight of every stare that didn't meet his. The air was cool, almost sterile, but a bead of sweat traced down his temple. He'd faced ambushes in Vietnam, yet this moment stung deeper than any bullet ever could. Sam's chest tightened, not from fear but from the raw ache of humiliation. He'd come here to apply for a logistics coordinator role, a job he knew inside out from decades of military service. Just minutes before, he'd stopped outside to help a young mother struggling with a stroller, holding the heavy glass door open while she maneuvered through with her toddler. The woman's grateful smile had warmed him, a fleeting reminder of why he still believed in doing right. Now that warmth was gone, replaced by the recruiter's sneer and the cold indifference of the lobby. "Sir, I'm just here for the interview," Sam said, his voice steady but laced with a quiet grit forged in jungles and barracks. He slid his resume across the desk, the paper slightly yellowed at the edges but meticulously typed. Tyler didn't even glance at it. Instead, he scoffed, loud enough for a nearby intern to pause mid-step, her coffee cup hovering near her lips. "Interview? For you?" Tyler's laugh was performative, meant to draw attention. "Look, Grandpa, your experience is ancient history. We need fresh talent, not whatever this is." He flicked a dismissive hand toward Sam's folder, knocking it to the floor. Pages scattered, Sam's honorable discharge certificate skidding across the polished marble. A murmur rippled through the lobby. Some snickers, some averted gazes. A security guard by the elevators shifted, his hand resting on his belt, watching closely. Sam knelt slowly, his bad knee protesting to gather the papers. Each movement was deliberate, a silent refusal to crumble. His fingers brushed the discharge certificate, and for a moment he was back in 73, standing tall as his CO pinned the silver star to his chest for dragging 2 wounded men to safety under fire. The memory flickered, then faded, drowned by Tyler's voice. "Hurry it up, old-timer. You're holding up the line." There was no line. The lobby had quieted, the hum of activity replaced by an uneasy tension. A woman in a pencil skirt whispered to her colleague, their eyes darting to Sam. He stood, papers clutched to his chest, and met Tyler's gaze. "Son, I've led men through hell and brought 'em back. I reckon I can handle your paperwork." His words carried the weight of a man who'd seen too much to be cowed by a desk jockey. Tyler's smirk faltered, but only for a second. "Cute story. Now move along before I call security." He jerked his chin toward the guard, who took a step forward. Sam's jaw tightened, his mind racing. He could leave, tail between his legs, or stand his ground. The choice wasn't easy, not with the ache in his knee, the bills piling up at home, and the gnawing fear that maybe Tyler was right. Maybe he was outdated, a relic in a world that didn't care. But then a soft clink broke the silence. Sam's hand instinctively went to his pocket where his old dog tags rested, a habit from years of carrying them for luck. The tags had been with him through every firefight, every loss. They'd belonged to his best friend Danny, who never made it home. Touching them now, Sam felt a spark of resolve. He wasn't done fighting, not yet. Outside, the faint sound of traffic grew louder, horns blaring as if signaling something bigger. A sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb, its tinted windows reflecting the midday sun. Sam didn't notice. He was too focused on the recruiter, on the injustice burning in his chest. "You'll regret this," he said quietly, not a threat but a promise born of a lifetime of standing tall. The glass doors hissed open behind him, but Sam didn't turn. Not yet. The lobby held its breath, and for a moment, it felt like the world was about to shift. "We've only just begun this story, but trust me, it's about to get even more intense." Stick around to see what happens when Sam faces even greater injustice, and how he fights back. The lobby of Apex Solutions crackled with a tension so thick it could have choked the air. Samuel Sam Carver stood firm, his weathered hands clutching his scattered resume, the faint jangle of his dog tags in his pocket grounding him like a heartbeat. The young recruiter Tyler leaned forward, his polished smirk sharper than the glass walls around them. "You're still here?" he sneered, voice loud enough to make a passing intern flinch. "I said scram, old man. You're embarrassing yourself." Sam's eyes narrowed, but before he could fire back, the security guard by the elevators, broad-chested and stone-faced with a badge reading Martinez, stepped closer. His boots thudded ominously on the marble floor, the lobby's sterile scent of lemon polish mixing with the metallic tang of Sam's rising anger. "Sir, let's not make a scene," Martinez said, his tone flat but edged with authority. A crowd had formed now. Young execs in tailored suits, a receptionist peering over her monitor, their whispers buzzing like static. Some smirked, others shifted uncomfortably, but none stepped in. Sam's bad knee throbbed as he straightened, his silver star pin catching the light. He just helped a struggling mom outside, a small act of kindness that felt like a lifetime ago. Now he was a spectacle, a 68-year-old veteran reduced to a punching bag for a smug kid half his age. "A scene?" Sam's voice was low, gravelly, the kind that once commanded platoons. "Son, I've seen scenes you couldn't dream of." "This ain't one," Tyler laughed, a sharp bark that echoed off the glass. "Oh, please. Spare me the war stories, Grandpa. Nobody cares about your dusty medals." He swiveled in his chair, grabbing Sam's resume from the desk and holding it up like a prop. "Logistics experience from the 70s? You're a dinosaur, pal. This job's for now, not then." He tore the paper in half with a slow, deliberate rip, letting the pieces flutter to the floor. The crowd gasped, a woman in a navy blazer covering her mouth. Sam's chest burned, not just from the insult but from the violation. Those pages held his life, his sacrifices. "Pick it up," Sam said, his voice dangerously quiet. Tyler froze, caught off guard by the steel in the older man's tone. For a split second the lobby seemed to hold its breath, the hum of the air conditioning the only sound. Then Tyler recovered, leaning back with a mocking grin. "Or what, old-timer? You gonna salute me to death?" The crowd tittered, a nervous ripple of laughter. Martinez stepped closer, his hand hovering near his radio. "Last warning, sir. Leave, or I escort you out." Sam's jaw clenched, his fingers brushing the dog tags in his pocket again. Danny's tags, a reminder of the brother he'd lost in '72. He could walk away, let this punk win, but every fiber of his being screamed to fight. Not with fists, but with the stubborn grit that had carried him through jungles and firefights. "I earned my place here," Sam said, locking eyes with Tyler. "More than you ever will behind that desk." The words hit like a punch, and Tyler's smirk wavered. But before he could retort, a new voice cut through the lobby, sharp and commanding. "What's going on here?" A woman in her 40s, clad in a power suit and heels that clicked like gunfire, strode in from a side office. Her nameplate read Karen Whitaker, HR Director. Her eyes flicked from Tyler to Sam, then to the torn resume on the floor. Tyler jumped up, smoothing his tie. "Just handling a situation, Karen. This guy's causing trouble, refusing to leave." He gestured at Sam like he was a stray dog. Karen's gaze lingered on Sam's silver star pin, her expression unreadable. "Is that so?" she said, crossing her arms. "Care to explain, Mr. Carver?" "Samuel Carver," Sam said, standing taller despite the ache in his knee. "I came for the logistics job." "Your recruiter here thinks my service record's a joke." He nodded at the shredded papers. Karen's lips tightened, and for a moment Sam thought he saw a flicker of sympathy. But then Tyler chimed in, voice slick as oil. "Karen, his experience is decades old. He's not qualified. I'm just doing my job." Karen raised an eyebrow, glancing at the crowd which had grown thicker. A young man in a hoodie was filming on his phone, the red record light glaring. Whispers spread, "Veteran disrespect, HR's here." Sam felt the weight of their eyes, a mix of pity and curiosity that made his skin crawl. He'd faced enemy fire without blinking, but this was a different kind of battlefield, one where words cut deeper than shrapnel. "Mr. Carver," Karen said, her tone measured. "We value all applicants, but we have standards. If your experience doesn't align—" Sam cut her off, his voice rising just enough to carry. "Standards? I ran supply chains under mortar fire, kept men fed and armed while dodging snipers. That's my standard." The crowd murmured, a few nodding. The guy with the phone zoomed in, and Sam caught a glimpse of his screen. #veteran disrespected was already trending. Karen hesitated, her composure cracking. Tyler, sensing weakness, doubled down. "See, he's delusional, thinking war stories qualify him for a real job." He turned to Martinez. "Get him out now!" Martinez stepped forward, but Sam didn't budge. His hand tightened around the dog tags and a memory flashed. Danny's laugh, the promise they'd made to never back down. Sam's resolve hardened like steel. Outside, the black SUV from earlier idled at the curb, its engine a low growl. The tinted windows hid whoever was inside, but the vehicle's presence felt like a storm brewing. Inside, the lobby was a powder keg, every word a spark. Karen opened her mouth to speak, but a sudden commotion at the glass doors stopped her cold. Heads turned, the crowd parting as someone new entered, their shadows stretching across the marble floor. We're on the edge of the climax now. What happens next will flip everything upside down. You can't miss the explosive resolution of Sam's fight for justice. Stick around for the final chapter. The glass doors of Apex Solutions swung open with a hiss, and the lobby fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. Samuel "Sam" Carver stood rooted to the spot, his torn resume clutched in one hand, the dog tags in his pocket a quiet anchor against the storm of disrespect. Tyler, the smug recruiter, froze mid-sneer, his eyes darting to the figure striding in. Karen, the HR director, straightened, her power suit suddenly seeming less authoritative. The crowd, execs, interns, and the kid filming on his phone, parted like a sea, their whispers fading into a collective hush. A man in his late 50s entered, his presence commanding the room like a general stepping onto a battlefield. His charcoal suit was impeccable, his silver hair cropped military short, and his eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the scene. A faint scar traced his jawline, a silent testament to battles fought long ago. Behind him, two aides in crisp blazers flanked like sentries, one carrying a tablet that glowed with data. The black SUV outside, its engine still idling, suddenly made sense. This was no ordinary visitor. "Who's in charge here?" The man's voice boomed, deep and resonant, cutting through the sterile hum of the lobby. Karen stepped forward, her heels clicking nervously. "I'm Karen Whitaker, HR director. And you are?" The man's gaze locked onto her, then shifted to Sam, lingering on the silver star pin glinting on his faded blazer. "James Dalton," he said, pausing for effect. "CEO of Apex Solutions." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Tyler's face drained of color, his swagger evaporating like steam. Sam's heart thudded, but he kept his chin high, the ache in his bad knee forgotten. He'd faced worse than this. Ambushes in Vietnam, the loss of his best friend Danny. But the weight of this moment felt heavier, like the world was watching. The kid with the phone zoomed in, the red record light a silent witness. #veteran disrespected was trending higher by the second. Dalton's eyes flicked to the torn resume on the floor, then to Tyler, who shrank under the scrutiny. "Someone want to explain why a decorated veteran's being treated like garbage in my company?" His voice was calm, but the edge in it could have cut steel. Karen opened her mouth, but Tyler jumped in, his voice cracking. "Sir, he's unqualified. His experience is outdated, and he was causing a scene." "Enough!" Dalton's command silenced the room. He stepped closer to Sam, his gaze softening but still piercing. "Your name, soldier?" Sam straightened, instinct kicking in. "Samuel Carver, sir." "Us. Army retired, Silver Star, Vietnam." Dalton nodded, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "I know what that pin means, Carver." "Takes a hell of a man to earn it," the crowd murmured, some nodding, others shifting guiltily. A woman in a navy blazer who'd whispered earlier now looked down, her face flushed. Sam's chest tightened. Not from anger, but from a flicker of pride he hadn't felt in years. He touched the dog tags in his pocket, Danny's tags, and a memory surged. Their promise to never let injustice slide, no matter the cost. Dalton turned to Tyler, his expression hardening. "You tore up this man's resume?" Tyler stammered. I was just..." Dalton cut him off with a raised hand. "You disrespected a man who risked his life for this country. In my house." He gestured to the lobby, his voice rising. "Apex was built on integrity, not arrogance. You're done here." Tyler's jaw dropped, but Martinez, the security guard, was already moving, guiding the stunned recruiter toward the exit. The crowd parted, some filming, others whispering in shock. Karen stepped forward, her voice shaky. "Mr. Dalton, I assure you, this isn't our policy." Dalton's glare stopped her cold. "Then fix it. Starting now." He turned to Sam, his tone shifting to one of respect. Mr. Carver, your experience isn't outdated, it's invaluable. We need men like you. The logistics coordinator job is yours, effective immediately." The lobby erupted in applause, tentative at first, then thunderous. The kid with the phone whooped, his video now live streaming to thousands. A woman in the crowd shouted, "That's right!" and others joined in, their voices a chorus of overdue justice. Sam's throat tightened, his eyes stinging. He hadn't expected this, not the job, not the respect, not the warmth of strangers suddenly seeing him. He'd come here to fight for a chance, not knowing he'd spark a reckoning. Dalton extended his hand, and Sam shook it, their grip firm, a silent understanding passing between two men who'd seen the world's ugliness and still chose to stand tall. "Welcome to Apex, Carver," Dalton said, loud enough for all to hear. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small polished pin, an Apex logo crossed with an eagle. He fastened it to Sam's lapel beside the silver star. "This one's for today's battle." The crowd roared, phones flashing as the moment was captured. Sam's gaze swept the room, landing on the glass doors where the SUV waited, its driver watching through tinted windows. He didn't know why Dalton had shown up, but he felt Danny's tags in his pocket, warm against his fingers, like a nod from beyond. For the first time in years, Sam felt seen, not as an old man, but as a warrior, a survivor, a man who mattered. As Martinez escorted Tyler out, the former recruiter's head hung low, the lobby's applause drowning his protests. Karen scrambled to hand Sam a new application form, her apologies tumbling out. Sam took the form, but his eyes were on Dalton, who gave him a slight nod before heading toward a waiting elevator, his aides in tow. The CEO paused, turning back to the crowd. "Let this be a lesson," he said, his voice carrying. "Respect isn't negotiable. Not here, not ever." The elevator doors closed and the lobby buzzed with renewed energy. Strangers approached Sam, offering handshakes, apologies, even a coffee from the intern who'd flinched earlier. The woman in the navy blazer stepped up, her voice soft. "My dad was a vet. Thank you for standing up." Sam nodded, words failing him as the weight of the moment settled in. He stepped outside, the Chicago wind cool against his face. The SUV was gone, but the city felt different, brighter somehow. Sam touched the new pin on his lapel, then Danny's tags, a quiet vow forming in his heart. He'd keep fighting, not just for himself, but for every vet who'd been pushed aside. Today was a victory, but the war for respect was far from over.